Just preparing the live streaming.
Notified.
You got a partner there, John?
Yes, he wanted to make sure I knew he was here.
Your assistant?
Okay, let me turn this down. Okay, we're live and
Fantastic.
recorded and being recorded.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Norwalk Housing Corporation meeting, scheduled December 8th, 5:30 p.m. Going through the agenda, call to order is done. Roll call. It looks like we have everyone except for Lisa. Is that correct, Lisa? Not there. Okay. Open the floor to public participation. Brian, do we have anyone in the waiting room or anything?
Sure.
No?
No.
Okay, fantastic. I will close public participation. Move on to administration and financial. Approval of Norwalk Housing Corporation Statement of Revenues.
It'll be Eugenia. Eugenia, you can present.
Yep. Sure. Okay, for year to date, September 30th, 2020, Norwalk Fund 400 had about $2,000 in revenue, $270 in expenditures, and a net operating surplus of about $1,700. The balance sheet for Norwalk on September 30th, Fund 400 had assets of $820,000, liabilities of $465,000, and net assets of $355,000. I'm going to Fund 450, the Norwalk Revolving Loan Fund. It had about $1,000 in net operating surplus, which was interest income from notes. And the balance sheet for Norwalk Revolving Fund 450 had $144,000 in assets and $144,000 in liabilities and net assets.
Okay.
That's it. Anybody have any questions?
Good. All right, I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then Lisa abstains, I guess, because she's not here. And the ayes have it. All right, moving on to item 1A2.
Mike Salakian, who's here to present the audit for Norwalk for this year.
Okay,
Well, it's a pleasure being with all you guys tonight. And as you can imagine, in this new normal we're all in, I'm doing a lot more of this than in the past, just because logistically I can do it, you know, and physically it's impossible sometimes to be at two places at once. So it's, again, a pleasure to be here. And I'm kind of going to go through what I consider to be the more important things that a board should hear from the auditor, and then stop me at any time or any questions. So I think it's fair to say with Norwalk that as we're looking at the June 30, 2020 audit, there wasn't a lot of activity there this year. You know, obviously some of these things are just from a timing standpoint. The fact that a lot of the cash was used from the year before to pay off some of the liabilities, that was really the major change if you look at 2020 compared to 2019. But it be that as it may, this was, again, our clean audit report. You're going to hear me say this again with the redevelopment agency. So we didn't have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. Again, those are terms in our professional standards. If there was anything like that, you would have been hearing from me well before this meeting. We would have had to have some kind of conversation. So nothing that, from that standpoint, we would have to report on. Again, the statement of financial position that starts on page 1 is pretty pretty much in line with last year, except from the cash standpoint, if you will. And the disclosures that start on page 4 and go through page 6, again, pretty much in line with last year. The only one I will point to you that is new, and you're going to see this again in the redevelopment agency statements, is to do with the uncertainties surrounding COVID-19. And this is pretty much a best practices approach to disclosure. There's nothing that, and again, in the professional standards that says it has to be disclosed. But if you look at footnote number 8, it's obviously the elephant in the room these days from a disclosure standpoint. And in fact, I saw an article, I believe in the Wall Street Journal this morning, where the Cheesecake Factory, just to get off the track a little bit here, I don't know if anybody saw this, Cheesecake Factory was fined by the SEC for not having adequate disclosure about COVID-19 in their audit report. I guess they did not disclose the fact that they were losing $6 million a week. And in the audit report, all they said was the restaurants were being sustained from the standpoint of operations. So I'm not taking any of this for lightly. I don't think we have anything to worry about in our reports tonight. But there's been a lot of controversy over the fact of, is this disclosure somewhat necessary or not? And to me, I don't know of any organization where there isn't uncertainty, even if the organization isn't really being completely affected by it. So anyways, that's somewhat of the background for that disclosure. But otherwise, if you look at all the other footnotes, they're pretty much consistent with the prior year. Nothing that I really need to tell you from that standpoint. The Form 990, I think everybody's aware that this is a 501c3 organization, unlike the redevelopment agency, which is a government entity. So as a 501c3, a Form 990 is filed. And the only thing I've been telling every board these days, Congress is more than busy with many other things. Form 990 is very low on the list, if not even on the list, of anything to change. And there haven't been any substantive changes in the Form 990 in a number of years. And I don't anticipate any in the next couple. So that's been pretty much standard fare there. And once you all formally approve the audit, then the 990 will get finalized and all that. But that's pretty much it for Norwalk.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Mike? Okay, can I have a motion for the second item? Do we need to read it? Do we need to read it, Mark?
No, Commissioner Igneri made the motion to approve the audited financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. So just need a second.
Second.
David second.
David. If no discussion, then a vote on it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The ayes have it. And then any other new or old business? Otherwise, we will adjourn the meeting at, I got 5:43.
Just need a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
All right, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned.
All in favor?
We gotta do that? All in favor? All right.
We're on to our next one. Good job.
I'm just getting my legs here. I'm just starting out.
I know.
All right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting, the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency, scheduled November 8th, 5:30. It's 5:43. Do a call to order. Again, we have all the commissioners except for Lisa present. Open the floor to any public participation. Anybody in the waiting room? Anybody here? I will close public participation. On to item 1, administration, approval of minutes. Approval of minutes, November 3rd, 2020, special meeting. Just looking over them myself. Does anyone have any questions or comments on said minutes? All right. No discussion on that then. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion, John second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention, well, I guess two if Lisa's not here.
I think Commissioner Bloom would probably abstain, so I would say we have 3-1 on the 3-0 and 1 for the record on the approval of the minutes.
Okay. Is Lisa, are these abstentions on her votes or they're just no vote?
She's not
No,
here.
because Lisa's not present at the meeting, so it would just have, we have 4 commissioners here to vote on the agenda items.
Okay. Motion passed was the 3. On to finance, approval of Norwalk Redevelopment Agency audited financial statements.
Actually, put Mike first. We put the audit first, Mike, so you can go back to back.
Well, I
Oh,
appreciate
sorry.
that. Thank you, Chair. Before I get into the financial statements in my presentation would be similar to Northwalk, I just want to say, just so you guys understand up front, you know, this was a big change for all of us auditors, our clients, having to do this remotely. And for any of you in your own right, I'm sure in your businesses, in your lives, it's been quite a change. And so I just want to thank both Brian and Eugenia. It was, in my estimation, it was about as seamless as it could get. And I really want to thank them both. They were very, and other staff I know that was involved in helping us get the audit done. I mentioned that Brian and I spoke briefly this afternoon on some things, and I told him that and we have pretty heavy audit practice. We do a lot of organizations in Connecticut, a lot of nonprofit organizations and governmental entities. I would say for the most part, many of them are about a month behind. At this point, for most of our June 30 year ends, we're pretty much done wrapping them up, like with you folks and having the meetings. There's a lot still out there that are not even close to that yet. So I know it's been not an easy road for many. But here, it was kind of business as usual. I'm saying that because I don't know if Eugenia would agree with me, but I really want to thank you. I mean, it was just a great job of, and I think you all understand it's still, even though most of us are doing things electronically and sending things, and we have our own portal and things get uploaded to that, it's still a paper chase. Still need to see
Exactly.
documentation, and I want you all to understand when I get into my audit report why some of these things are important to know. So I just wanted to at least say that up front. I thank you both. So again, this is the June 30, 2020 audit. And unlike Northwalk, which is a 501c3, the redevelopment agency is a governmental entity. And from an accounting, auditing standpoint, not much different than the town. Okay, so the financial statements here are virtually what you would see if you're looking at the city of Norwalk's financial statements. There would be a lot more pages than theirs, but it's basically the same presentation in a way from the standpoint of the audit report, the management's discussion and analysis, and so on. So, our independent auditors report, and it's pretty much been the same since we've been involved. It's our clean audit report. There are, again, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. As you probably understand now, those aren't necessarily good things, but if there were any of those, we would have to have reported to you ahead of this meeting. We would have had those conversations. So, and to me, probably the most important page in the entire financial statements, at least in my estimation, is the last one. And that's the schedule of findings and question costs, which is on page 27. And again, just as a reminder, I think we might have some new members. Because the organization under the CDBG program expends more than $750,000 of federal money that they get from HUD. The Federal Single Audit Act applies to the redevelopment agency, and that really means that we have to do more work. There's more reports. For the most part, everything under, if you look at my table of contents, or your table of contents, I should say, under the supplementary information, you see the Federal Single Audit as a subgroup, and all of those reports are required because of this single audit. So the page I'm kind of pointing to, that to me is the most important one here, is on page 27. There are no findings or question costs in accordance with the federal program that we had to report on here. And again, as a board, I don't want you to take that for granted, because that's not always the case in some organizations. And that means, quite simply, when we were testing the program and looking at the backup for a lot of the organizations out there that you folks help with assistance through the CDBG program, if we couldn't find the backup, or the backup wasn't given to us, or the documentation didn't exist, we would have to report on that. And again, this audit report will find its way to the Inspector General of the US through their data collection program, and they look at these. And so it's not just the public that's looking at this, it's also the federal government, obviously. So again, that's a testament to the fact that we're given everything we need and all the documentation is there, and that's obviously a good thing. So going back to the beginning, just kind of quickly, on page 1, starting on page 1 through 6, because the audit report is prior to that. That's where you guys are telling your story. So that document is pretty much from staff, from Brian and Eugenia, and so they've kind of gone through the language in there. That's pretty much your presentation of what you're all about and what the year has meant as far as the redevelopment agency is concerned. You'll see on page 6, there's some language in there again about COVID-19, and we'll also have a footnote that I'll get to in a second here. But that's pretty much, I think, the only major addition. Most of the rest of the MD&A, as we call it, is pretty standard. Obviously, it's been updated for the current year, but I don't know, Brian, if you want to add anything about anything you've said there.
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
Questions?
Financial statements start on page 7. Again, all of these financial statements are pretty much in line. If you're looking at any governmental entity, including the city, there's the governmental reports, there's the financial statements based on generally accepted accounting principles. I guess all I'm going to tell you is this is pretty much reflected in your books and records. And if you've been seeing financial information right along at your meetings, this is pretty much mirrored in the audit report. I will tell you that we don't make any audit adjustments. The information given to us by the accounting department is fully adjusted. So there are no significant adjustments we have to make. And so again, I think as you get this information reported to you on a monthly basis, it should be for the June year end, you should have probably already seen information like this. Albeit maybe in a different presentation, but so for the year, there was a negative change of position. I'm on page 8 here. If you looked at your total expenses and you looked at your total income, there was a negative of about 153,000. And again, historically in the redevelopment agency, it's pretty much been just a timing thing. It's not, I think, to be viewed as the agency either made money or lost money. Sometimes it's just kind of the junior end timing things here. And again, the rest of the statements that carry through to page 10 are pretty much saying what I just said in different formats. It's just the way it has to be presented in accordance with the government auditing standards. footnotes from page 11 through 20. Obviously, there's more here to talk about or to read than there is in Norwalk. Again, it's pretty much consistent with 2019. There really hasn't been any major standards that affect the redevelopment agency that have been issued. I know if you look at footnote number 11, your eyes will get kind of glossed over because there's a lot of standards that are going to become effective. But I will tell you that other than leases, there pretty much isn't anything in here that's probably going to affect the redevelopment agency, but we have to kind of disclose them all here. And most of these, because of COVID-19 has affected this also, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, or FASB, has delayed some of these for even another year to give organizations and publicly held companies time to kind of digest it even more. So again, the major footnote that was added is footnote number 12, subsequent events footnote. And it's pretty much, I think, what we were talking about before. It's really just telling the reader, you know what, there's still uncertainty out there. We don't really know what's going to happen. I think we're all hoping things are going to get better. But as we go into even 2021, it's kind of hard to determine what it's going to mean from a financial standpoint. There's also a footnote. I'm just going to point to it, and I'll ask Brian if he wants to comment at all. But he and I did have several conversations about footnote number 10 back on page 18. You do have to disclose in your financial statements any commitments and contingencies, and included in that is if there's any pending litigation or unasserted claims that are disclosed to us as the auditor when we confirm that with legal counsel. And for the June 30, 2020 year, there really wasn't anything formally that they confirmed to us. But in my conversations with Brian, I don't know if you want to jump off here and talk about the disclosure that's still there.
Yeah, that's fine, Mike. Thanks. So this is just further to the last discussion we had as a board regarding some of the ongoing litigation. Just wanting to include recognition of our consideration of the reasonable cost standards as they relate to the legal expenses for the ongoing litigation matters, which is represented here in the first paragraph, the last sentence of the first paragraph. So we wanted to make sure, as we discussed at our last meeting, one of the key points is to document our actions, as was suggested by Mike, and so that's what we did.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it pretty fairly discloses the situation, and so that has changed somewhat from last year. But I think if you go through, all the other disclosures are pretty much in line with last year, just updated obviously for 2020 information. The rest of the reports you're going to see in here are required under the federal single audit and the federal yellow book requirements for reporting. And I pretty much went over the most important one. Obviously we go back to, I think you're all aware, page 26, there was approximately $1.1 million of the CDBG money that was expended in 2020. And that's what I'm talking about from the standpoint of us testing that. If I couldn't find in our testing backup and documentation, all that, I would have to talk about that on page 27. So, it's a job well done from that standpoint, and really don't want to have to mention any of those. And you'll see also what I was talking about before on the federal single audit, on page 27 at the top of the page, we talk about material weaknesses and significant deficiencies. We'd have to answer those questions, and you can see they're both answered no, or none reported. So, that's pretty much the presentation of the audit report. The only other thing I do want to mention, and then you could, if you have any questions, Eugenia's predecessor, John Slovak, would would tease me every year at the audit up front. He would ask me, or kind of mentioned to me, that he didn't expect any management letter to be issued. A management letter being where we would have recommendations or comments from based on things we've seen. And, you know, that's kind of an auditor's judgment call. And you know, I lived a life at a big firm back in the day. And, you know, there's some school of thought that says, well, you know, you should have comments in every audit. But in my mind, if they're raised to the level of having to report to the board important things, those would be in a management letter. We don't have a formal management letter. There are things we talk about from time to time on the audit, maybe from a best practices approach or whatever, but I don't have anything to communicate to the board. But the only thing I would mention, because I think it's fair on most audits of your size or even smaller or larger, these days, especially in the electronic age, you know, there's typically not a lot of people in the accounting departments. You know, usually maybe several folks, and things get streamlined, and you have an executive director and you've got your accounting staff. But I always like to point out to boards the whole idea of segregation of duties. This is probably a cornerstone of your system of quality control, or internal control, I should say. And so as a board, just keep that uppermost in your mind. You know, the concept of not letting one person or even a couple of people having complete control over everything. Brian mentioned to me earlier today, reminded me the fact that he doesn't sign any checks. And it's a great thing if you can have that as part of your organization. Most nonprofits and government's a little bit different, but in the nonprofit world, many organizations will have a dividing line where over a certain amount, sometimes it's $1,000 or so, the executive director has to get a second signature on checks. But the more you can segregate the duties, the more you can have controls like that, where, and I know sometimes it's burdensome on a board member or the treasurer to have to sign things, but the more you guys can kick the tires and look at things, the better. We all read the same articles in the newspaper and hear things in the media about bad things happening out there. And so I would just leave you with that. Nothing that's come to my attention. Again, we would have had to talk about that, but that's really the thing I try to have all boards just focus on is a segregation of duties and having that be something you maybe even talk about from time to time. So
Okay.
that's it.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on the audit? All right. Someone want to make a motion to approve the audit financial statement?
So moved.
John makes the motion. Second.
Second.
David the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With 3 ayes and Kelly's abstaining and Lisa not present. Moving along to approval of Norwalk Redevelopment Agency Statement of Revenues and Expenditures for Operating Fund 100.
Eugenia, real quick before Mike, we're all set. I appreciate your help. And I think I'd like to echo Mike's comment. This was Eugenia's first audit and she handled it fantastically. So thank you so much, Eugenia.
Thanks, Mike, for all your help. Thank
Well,
you.
it's really a job well done. I want to thank you all. And I wish you a safe and happy holiday season. And I know you all have challenges going forward. Everybody's got them. So, but please stay safe out there. And I want to really thank you guys again. It was a pleasure working with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so for the period year-to-date, October 31st, the operating fund 100 had revenues of $598,000 versus budgeted revenues of $529,000, which resulted in an unfavorable variance of $31,000, which is mainly due to lower actual CDBG grant revenue of $27,000. This will be recouped over the remainder of the year. The actual expenses of $536,000 versus the budgeted total expenses of $540,000 resulted in a favorable variance of $4,000. This is primarily due to an unfavorable variance in legal expenses of $78,000 resulting from the Wall Street litigation, which was offset by favorable variances in personnel expenses of $68,000 and other administrative expenses of $13,000. The actual operating deficit of $39,000 versus the budgeted operating deficit of $11,000 resulted in an unfavorable variance of $28,000. That's it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, with none, I will take a motion to approve Norwalk Redevelopment Agency Statement of Revenues and Expenditures for Operating Fund 100 for year-to-date October 31st, 2020.
So moved.
John moves it. David, can we count on you for a second? You gotta unmute.
If volume's
Yes,
off.
Second, sorry.
There we go. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Kelly abstains. Okay. Moving along to business. Certificate of completion for the Sono
Good
collection.
night.
Oh,
Good night.
Good night.
Hi, Eugene.
All right, thank
Take
you
care.
very much.
Bye,
Aye.
you're welcome. Have a good one.
Certificate of completion for Sono collection.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the last piece for the Sono collection. Attorney Sweeney is here. He also represents the redeveloper who, pursuant to the LDA, has requested the agency to issue the certificate of completion. As part of your package that was sent out to you, I included the relevant sections of the LDA regarding certificate of completion, along with amendments number 4 and 5. Working with Attorney Sweeney's team and along with Brian in DPW and the building department, we have come together with the certificate of completion that the parties are comfortable with for the agency to sign. You'll note in the certificate of completion, there are a couple of carve-outs in regards to the LDA. Many remember the whole process that the public parties undertook in regards to developing the mall as a mixed-use project, and also some of the requirements that the redeveloper had wanted to undertake pursuant to the LDA as amended. The completion of the mall has been done, and the redeveloper has agreed as of October 9th, 2019, as defined in the LDA, that is the improvement completion date. Up until about a month ago or 2 months ago, there were some outstanding items that the redeveloper had posted a bond for. As far as Brian has confirmed with me and with DPW, that all the work that the redeveloper was obligated to do under that bond has been completed. So that will be the only change on the certificate of completion that you have in your package that will be deleted from the final certificate to be signed by half the agency, is that there will be no reference to any bond since all that work has been done. In regard to the carve-outs, we wanted to keep in, and everyone agreed, the revised chart of approved land uses for the mixed-use project, the permitted project uses, and the mall classification. The mall classification was an important component for the city and the public parties as what is defined in the LDA. So that was important to remain. In addition, we kept in the public realm component, the career training component, and the tax incentive component. Again, all things that are surviving and go beyond their certificate of improvements, because that's what the improvements have been completed. And the document that we have here reflects that. And we are asking, the redeveloper is asking that the commissioners approve the certificate of completion as amended to take out the reference to the bond being posted. And I'm certainly comfortable with this. I've also forwarded to Corporation Counsel, and Corporation Counsel had no objection to the certificate of completion as well.
Okay.
It's been a long time. It's sitting on the planning committee and all the LDA meetings and so forth. It's,
Oh, I don't know if you remember, we had, Lisa would remember if she was here, we had the Saturday morning meetings in the snowstorms.
oh, yes.
On the third floor of City Hall going through this whole project, but it is complete. It's a beautiful project. A lot of skeptics out there that didn't think it would ever get done. It got done on time, and certainly we're happy to be there. And this is the final piece relative to the certificate of completion as it required under the LDA. And this will be recorded on the land records in the city of Norwalk.
Good.
So, you know, we have a Jason Milligan in the waiting room, so I was going to let him in as part of the public.
Okay. Does
If I
anyone have
may-
any questions or
Mark,
comments about the certificate of completion?
None.
If I may speak?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Michael Sweeney. I'm a partner with Carmody and Torrance, represent Brookfield Properties, the developer. Really don't want to take up much of your time or add much. I think Attorney Grenier has explained well where we are. The certificate of completion, as he pointed out, is not a new document. It's actually an exhibit to the LDA. It was contemplated from the beginning that this would be signed at the end. I think what we all realized at the end is the form didn't really match up with reality. So I think over the past few months, with Attorney Grenier's help, we tried to carve out those things that were always meant to survive after completion of the work. And that's what's been addressed in the agreement. So with that, again, I think Attorney Grenier has explained well where we are, and I thank him for his help in getting to this point today.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, when somebody said, "Can I talk?" It was fine. I had to find which square was talking there. My apologies. Any other questions, comments on the issuance of certificate of completion? Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve the issuance of certificate of completion for Sono collection?
So moved.
John moves it.
Second.
David seconds. Any other questions, comments? All right. All in favor? Aye. And one abstention with Kelly. All right, on to the next section of business. I do want to apologize here. I jumped into all of this without introducing Kelly, our latest commissioner. So this sort of prompts this up. Felix has left us at the last meeting. Kelly has now joined the commissioners here. So Kelly, welcome, and my apologies for not introducing you at the top.
Thank you.
Again, I'm still getting my legs underneath me with this. It says election of officers. I think we only have the one open position, which is the chairman position. I think Mark referred to me as a chairman, which I am definitely not. I am the vice chair. And as such, I will take nominations from the floor for that position of chairman.
Yes, it's my honor to nominate John Ignieri to be chairman of the redevelopment agency. John has many years of experience with the city of Norwalk, president of the council. He's done so many things, and I think will be a good chairman for us.
Okay, before I ask for a second, John, would you like to accept that nomination?
I will accept that nomination.
All right.
And I've, as Mark can attest, I've been involved with this for a long time from the other side. So I should be able to hit the ground running.
No disagreement.
Do I need a second for the nomination?
I would, yes, we're going to go forward to say so. We just need a second, please.
Okay.
Second.
Kelly seconds the nomination. Are there any other nominations from the floor for chairman? Going once, going twice. Okay, no other nominations then. Someone needs to make a motion, I believe.
I think a motion's already on the floor by Mr. Chairman Westmoreland to have Mr. Ignieri be chairman of the agency. Commissioner Bloom has already seconded that. So I think a vote all in favor would be appropriate at this time.
Okay. So all in favor of John Ignieri as chairman of the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency? Aye.
All right.
Looks like the ayes have it.
Congratulations, John.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Someone who just signed all the checks today, you get the pleasure now of signing your name. On those.
I look for your support on that.
We'll keep it easy. We'll keep it easy, John. Don't worry.
No, I'll get together with everyone over the next couple of weeks and chat and set. I'm not going to change things too much. So at this point, I look
Moving on.
forward to it. I think it's exciting.
Excellent. Sorry, moving on to a third, new business. Is there any new business? Old business? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And second? John
Seconded.
seconds. All right, thank you everyone for my probably one and only meeting that I led as acting chairman. And Kelly, again, I do apologize for not introducing you at the top of the meeting.
No worries.
All right. Anything further?
Oh, we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Stay safe.
Good night.
Again, John, thank you.
I'll chat with you tomorrow, Bill.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. I thought I left.